This conference will now be recorded.
In yesterday's session, we were trying to, create one application. We're trying to deploy that as a container. For that purpose, what we have done, we created an image for that application with the required softwares and application code, and we push that image to the Artifactory like registry, Docker Hub. So in the Docker Hub, we created a public repository. By default, it is a public repository. So we created a public repository and we push that image to the public repository. And even though it's a public repository, do we need to authenticate while pushing? Yes. But when we are trying to pull the image, if it is a public repository, do we need to authenticate? I already told yesterday also, same thing. I think someone is, asking the same question. Do we need to authenticate while pulling if it is a public repository? No. But if it is a private repository, while pulling also, do we need to authenticate in that server where we are pulling? Yes. But it's a public repository, so you no need to authenticate while pulling. So is everyone able to create a container for that application? Is everyone able to access that application as a container? Whatever we have done yesterday. Any issues you guys are facing? Since it's very beginning, so to make you understand what is container, what is image, I took almost 3 days, because the basics, the foundation is very, very important. If you are not good at basics, so if I directly go, you will not understand what is what. So I took 3 days to make you understand what is containerized deployment, why containers, and what is image, how to deploy. So we just took one application. That application we built and deployed as a container. Now similarly, let it be any other application. That can be a Java based application, that can be a Node.js application or Python application. Can I run that application also as a container if required by creating an image for that application? Yes. So I think you already deployed this Node.js application also as a container, right? Sorry, in the server, this Node.js app MSS, I think, right? If required, can I build and deploy this application also as a container? Can I build a Docker image for this application? And can I deploy this application also as a container if required? Yes. So if you see this application also, I already written a Docker file. Suppose there is no Docker file. Do I need to clone this and write a Docker file and commit that? As a developer, if you know Docker, you can clone and commit. As a DevOps engineer, the developer doesn't know Docker. As a DevOps engineer, do you need to write a Docker file for that application and commit that Docker file into the version control system like GitHub or Bitbucket, whatever you are using in that project? Yes. You are going to clone that. Up that application into your system like this. If you are using any IDE, you will clone like this and you will write a Docker file as per the given requirement. You are going to write a Docker file for that application and you are going to commit. Once you return the Docker file, you are going to commit that into the version control system. Then you can use that one for that application like this. So this is the sample Docker file. By looking at this, very simple. We will discuss later what is from, what is work dir, what is copy, what is this run, what is this. All these things we will discuss later. Just to make you understand. So this is Node.js based application. So what is the base image I am using? This from indicates base image, as I already told. What this from indicates? the base image. So what base image I am using to Dockerize this application? Node. Why Node? Why Node? Why not Python? Why not Java? Why not Tomcat? Because this is what type of application? This is Node.js application. Do I need a Node software? Do I need a Node software? Yes. So that's why I'm using Node.js. So from where it is getting that image, that node is repository. Node is a repository, 10 is a tag. From where it is getting, where it is going to get that image when I build, from where it is going to get that base image when I build, from the Docker Hub. In the Docker Hub, do I have a repository called node official image, node.js official image? Do you see there is a repository called node official image? Within this node, do I have a image with a tag called a 10? That is not just this one 10, that 10, let me, like this 10, somewhere it is there. I need to go to the last page, maybe not last page. This is 0.00 something is there. Let me come back some location. So this is 5 point, like that. So we have an image with the version 10, like the way we have 8.10, like this we have a tag called 10. So that image we are using that as a base image here. Then copy. Since it's a Node.js project, it is not a kind of a compilation programmatic language. It's a scripting language. So do we need to compile this Node.js source code the way we are compiling the Java classes into Java C, compilable? We no need to compile anything. It's a scripting language. So that's why am I copying that Node.js file as is? This copy dot indicates, this copy dot indicates what is the meaning of this copy. First dot, second dot. First dot is your build context, from where you are building the image, right? So which means whatever files you have in the current directory, that current directory is basically your build context, from where you are building. So whatever is part of your build context, all the files will be copied to the current working directory of image, which means is all these files, this app.js files, this folder, scripts folder, image folder, and all its files will be copied into the image because of that copy dot dot. All the files from build context to the current working directory of image, it will be copied. So what is this npm install? You might have already done this when you are manually doing also. It is like a maven install. Is this npm install is going to download the maven dependencies, the npm dependencies, whatever has been defined in this package.json, whatever has been defined in this package.json, this npm dependencies like express.js, this js, all these npm dependencies will be downloaded. While creating an image itself, this will execute, this run command will execute while creating an image itself. So I have a Node.js software, I have an application code, and it is downloading that npm dependencies to the image. With this, if I create a image, does that image will have Node.js software plus my application code and that Node.js dependencies, whatever has been defined in the package.json? Does that image has everything? Yes. Then this instruction we will discuss again in detail later. Whatever instruction we have given next to this cmd, this command will be executed while starting the container. So the moment I start the container, I need to run my application, that Node.js application. So did you guys manually executed this one when you run your Node.js app? Maybe node app.js, or maybe you have executed npm some command, npm start. Instead of node app.js, you might have executed npm start. That npm start also internally what it does? That npm start also internally does same thing. Because in the package.json, somewhere it might have been referred that this one main app.js. So which means if you execute npm start, in the background, is it going to start this JS file? Is it going to run that JS file? You see this one start, npm start, this one npm start node app.js. So even though you execute npm start, in the background, what it is going to be executed? This is your npm start command. So internally it is what it is going to execute. Again same node app.js. So I can give like this also, node app.js, or I can say npm start also, that doesn't matter. Now this command will be executed while starting the container, which means the moment I start the container, inside the container, does my node.js process will be up and running because of this command. Because of this command, is my node.js application, that node.js process will be up and running. Yes. So in detail, we will discuss what is this CMD, what is this expose, what is this run in a separate class, Docker file. For now, just to understand this one, I have explained, but in detail, we will cover in a separate session. Now, this is my Docker file. Let's say in any server, can I build that application? Maybe this is my build server. This is my build server, like a Jenkins server. Can I clone that project to that server and build the image for that application? Let me connect to that server. Now here, I'll clone that project. This project, that Node.js project, something like this. Now let me go inside that project, inside that Node.js project. Let me go inside that Node.js project. Now I have a Docker file and also application code. I no need to compile anything because it's a scripting language. Can I directly build like this, Docker build? Because you no need to compile anything, I can directly build like this. Because it's a scripting language, I no need to compile. I am copying that source code as is to the image. Now, can I give something like this? Some repository. Because this is different application. This is different application. Can I give something like this repository name and a tag? Then dot. What dot represents? The current directory, your build context. Current directory, your build context. So, but in my Docker file also I used a dot. In my Docker file is also I used my dot, which means is it going to copy all the files which is part of your build context to the image? All the files, whatever is part of your build context, all the files. Like is it going to copy this app.js, images folder, package.json, scripts, everything? Yes. So let me do this. It is pulling this base image now. First it is pulling that base image. From where it is pulling that base image? From Docker Hub. So what I am getting from that base image? What I will be getting from that base image? Will I get Node.js software, some kernel libraries, Node.js software with some kernel libraries to interact with kernel, host machine kernel? Yes. On top of that Node.js base image, did I copied my application code? Did I download? Am I downloading that Node.js dependencies by executing npm install? Because we copied package.json also. We copied package.json also inside that. Now, this is just a warning. This is just a warning. Let's ignore this one. Now, is my image is successfully built and is my image is created successfully now? Yes. Now this image, this Node.js image, what I will be having in this Node.js image? The image which I created Will I have my Node.js application code along with the Node.js softwares and its Node.js dependencies? Wherever I create a container out of this image, wherever I create a container out of that image, does my Node.js application, does my Node.js process will be up and running in the container? Yes. Now let me push this. I will push this to the repository. So yesterday I already authenticated with this registry. Same registry yesterday I already authenticated. So it may not ask you to authenticate again. It may not ask you to authenticate again because same registry, right? So it may not ask you to authenticate. So it will push. Now image is pushed. Now can I see this image in the registry, my own registry? Within my registry, this is Node app MSS. That is my repository, Node app MSS. So this is my registry, this is the repository. In Node app MSS, can I see this one? Few seconds ago, pushed by this guy, Docker hands-on, because that is the username. Now, wherever I want to deploy, that can be my local laptop also. If I have installed Docker in my local laptop, that can be Windows laptop running using Linux containers, or Mac laptop. Can I run that image as a container in my local laptop or any other server where I have a Docker? Yes. Now, let me do this. Let me try to deploy an actual deployment server. Let's consider this is your deployment server. In this server, can I create a container out of that image? So yesterday, we already created one container in this server. So we already created a container in this server. This container, what is running in this container? Is Tomcat and that application is running inside this container. Now similarly, can I create a container for the other application, that other image? Now let me explain what is this options now. -D, as I already told, what is this -D stands for? -D stands for detached mode. If I don't use this -D, interactive mode, the container process will start in an interactive mode. If it is started in an interactive mode, if I don't use this -D, the container, the process will start in an interactive mode. Guys, in simple, container is nothing but what? Inside the container, do we have some process which will run? So the process will be started in an interactive mode. If it is started in an interactive mode, if I press Ctrl C in this terminal, or if I close the terminal, what will happen? Does that process which is running in the container will be stopped? Does the container will be stopped? Yes. So if the container is stopped, the process is stopped, container is stopped. In that case, again, does your application will be running? Does application will be accessible? No. So that's why I don't want to run in an interactive mode. So that's why what I am saying, -D. What is this -D stands for? Detached background mode. If it is running in a, if it is created and started in a background mode, detached mode, if I close this terminal also, does that process, does that container will be keep on running in that server? Yes, that is -D. What is this hyphen name? What is this hyphen name? As I already told yesterday, name of the container, name of the container, container name. Can I give any name like ABC, XYZ also if required? Yes, but give a meaningful names. give a meaningful names. Now, if I don't use this one also, then who will give the names for the containers? You will get a name, but who will give names for the containers? The Docker daemon. The Docker daemon will assign some names, some fancy names, some random names, some fancy names, some random names will be given by Docker. And again, can I have a multiple containers with same container name, guys? In that server, can I have a multiple containers with same container name? Is it allowed? Can I have a multiple containers with same container name? Container names cannot be same. Container name cannot be same. Suppose I already have a container with this name. Can I create a one more container with this name now? Like this? No, it will not allow. It will not allow. You will get a message saying that container with this name already exists. Container with this name already exists. So you cannot have a same container. I mean to say multiple containers with same name. Now, what is this -p? Why do we need this -p? Here two sections are there: host port and container port. Now, why this is required? Let me tell you. When we are creating a container, right? This is my Docker server. Let's say this is my Docker server. This is my virtual machine or physical machine. I have some operating system here. I have some operating system. That can be anything. I have some operating system. On top of this operating system, I have a Docker. Now, when I create a container, what is going to happen? Let me tell you. This is my container. Each container will have its own IP address also. Each container will get IP. It will have, each container will have, or each container will have one IP address. That we call it as what? Container IP address. Container IP address. Now, does container also will have some port? In some port is container will be running. Let's say we created this container. This is created using Tomcat base image. On which port that container will be running? That container process will be running on which port? This container process will be running on 8080. Now it will have its own IP address also. Something like this. Something like this. Container IP address. Now, forget about this option. Forget about this option. Now you created a container without this option. Forget about this option. You created a container without this port publish. Directly like this. You will have a container. It will have IP. Now, from outside of this Docker machine, will I able to reach the container using this container IP and that container port, on which port that container is running? Is this container IPs are routable from outside of Docker? Is this container IPs are routable from outside of Docker? No, you cannot access from outside. But within the Docker, let's consider other application. One more application is running as a container within this machine. Does this container IPs are routable? Which means, does this application will be able to access this application using that container IP and port? Suppose this is another container, maybe different container. It is running on maybe on its own port. This can be again another Tomcat application, another Java based application, Does this application can talk to this application using container IP and port and respective app context or API context? Will it able to talk if any application is running here? This can talk to this one, but from outside, will I able to use that container IP and port? No. You have a server. Does this server also have an IP address? Like if it is in a public subnet, it will have public IP address also. If it is in private subnet, it will have only private address. Now, let's consider as of now, if it is only private server, again, the guy who is accessing should be in the same network. The guy from outside you are accessing, right? The guy also should be in same network if it is private subnet. But if it is public subnet from internet, they can use public IP like this. The server public IP. This server public IP from the internet, from the different networks. Guys, I no need to explain all these things. These are already explained in what? In what classes we have already discussed what is public IP, what is private IP, what is public subnet, what is private subnet. We already discussed in AWS session. In AWS sessions, we already discussed. Now, this is that server public IP, let's say. And this is that server private IP where my container is running. This is private IP. Now, these private IPs are reachable from internet? No. Private IPs are not reachable in internet. Now, something like this you have public IP, private IP. So in the Docker also there is a networking concept. The way we have a VPC for server networking, in Docker also there is a networking concept. Docker networks. We can Docker networks also part of there is a networking in the Docker also. So is this IPs are within this VPC range or this containers will have its own range? So there is a networking in Docker also, that time you will understand. So it is not going to be from your VPC range. Your container IPs will not be from your VPC range. So it will be different range that we will discuss later. Now, someone is saying from jump server we can access. Jump server is like SSH purpose, guys. Jump server you are using SSH purpose. Are you able to access your application which is running in the private server via jump server? No, that is just for SSH purpose. That is for SSH. From you are going to jump server, from jump server you are SSHing. But are you going to will you able to access the application which is running in a private server via jump server? No. But can I bring kind of a reverse proxy in front of that private server, like a load balancer, that reverse proxy concept? So you will contact that reverse proxy, that proxy server. That proxy server will do the reverse proxy in the background, kind of a load balancer. So understand what is jump server, what is load balancer. Just don't blindly follow or don't blindly execute any command. Now let's consider this is my server. Now I am using this public IP and a container port 8080. But is that process is directly running in the server or it is running as a container in this server, that 8080, this as a container? Now forget about this option, -p option, forget about that one. If you try to access like this, request goes to this server, but does this server, in this server directly do we have that port listening? 8080 port is listening directly in the server? No. So will you get any response? Will you get any response from this application which is running as a container if you do like that? No. So that's why we are using -p option. So what is that -p stands for? As I already told, sometimes in the interview also they'll ask what is port publish or port forwarding. All are same. Port publish, port forwarding, or port mapping, all are same. What is this? Can I publish my container using some port on the host? Can I publish my container to outside, or can I publish my container to outside using some port in my host? Yes. So it has two sections. It has two sections. One is host port, another one is container port. Now host port, any port which is available in the host, it no need to be 8080. It no need to be 8080. Can I publish something like this 7070 with 8080? So this is my container port. Can I publish that on host port 7070? If it is published on 7070, do I need to use that 7070 here? 7070 request goes to host. In the host, is this port is mapped with this container? If I use like this, that is mapped with container. So the Docker will it route that traffic? Will it forward that request to the container on 8080 on whatever container you mapped? Request goes to port 7070. If you do like this, request goes to this server on 7070. Then the Docker daemon, does the Docker daemon knows to which container it has to forward, because you use that option, -p option. So this way, can I expose or can I publish my containers outside of Docker using this port mapping, port publish? Yes. Now, can I have another container on container port 8080? Can I have another container on container port 8080? Container port. Yes. But for this container, can I again use same host port? For this container also, can I again use same host port? Will it work? Something like this. For this one also I used the same host port. For other container also I used same host port. Will it allow? No. So your host port should be unique. For this container, can I use maybe 8080 if this is not already used by any process in the host, any process in the server? This is host port, your server port. If this is not used by any other process in the server, can I use this host port for this container? Yes. In that case, if I want to access this application, can I use that server IP? Can I use that server IP under that 8080 port? Server IP 8080 port. So request goes to this server on 8080. Does Docker knows to which container it has to forward the request? So the request will be forwarded to this container. So which means, can I have a multiple containers on same container port? Which means, can I run multiple applications like Tomcat applications, Jenkins, multiple applications on same container port? Yes. But what should be unique for the containers which is running in that Docker machine? What should be unique? One is container name. And what should be the other one which should be unique? The host port. The host port. So container name and host port should be unique. So are you guys clear why I used this option yesterday? No. Let me deploy the container for this application now. Let me deploy Node.js application. So what is the Node.js process? On which port your Node.js process is created? I think somewhere in the code they have hard coded. Somewhere in the code they have hard coded. I am not sure in which port. Let me see. So on which port, if you see, they have set the port for that application. On which port they have set? 9981. So if you understand this code, right? Node.js code, what they are trying to set? They are trying to set the port, on which port that Node.js process should run. In the code they are setting. So here they are trying to set from one environment variable. If you set this port environment variable, suppose I have set one environment variable called port on maybe 3000. Let's say which one it will take. If I set one environment variable with a name called port and value as 3000, in which port this application will run? 3000. If I don't set this one, on which port it is going to run? 9981. So I am nowhere I am setting the environment variable. Inside the Docker file also I have not set. While creating a container also I am not passing any environment variable. So what is the port it is going to take for that application? 9981. So this is my container port. While creating a container, this is my container port. Now can I map with some host port? That can be anything. That can be 9981 itself, or that can be something like 3000 also, anything. But already one container is running on this port. Can I use this port again, host port? No. So let me run something like this. Some unique port, something like this. Now let me create a container. -p. I am saying something like this, 3000. With which port I need to map? 9981. Now the image name. Guys, please be on mute. Don't make background noise. The image name Docker hands-on. Docker hands-on is registry. Within that, what is my repository? Node-app-mss. And what is the tag? :1. Now let me show you. I am not using tag. What is the default tag it will consider? :latest. Is that image is part of my registry? Is that image is part of that registry, that repository? :latest? No. Now you see what is happening. It is saying this is not there locally because I have not mentioned the tag. It has said this is not there locally. Why I am getting this error? Error response from daemon. Manifest for this is not found. Unknown manifest. Manifest unknown or unknown manifest. What does it mean? There is no tag called latest in the registry. In that repository. In that repository, there is no image with the tag called latest. So that's why it is not able to pull that image. Now, if you see, is that image itself is not there. Is it able to create a container and start that container? No. So that's why it is not coming up. Latest, don't consider as this one latest. That is one tag. So if it is not there, you are not going to, you are going to get an error like this. Now, do I have this image with the tag 1? Now, since that image is not there locally, is it pulling from registry? Since it's a public registry, public repository, is it able to pull without authentication also in this server? Since it's a public repository, it is able to pull without authentication in this server. This is different server. Did I authenticated in this server anytime with my repository? No, right? So it is able to pull. Now it is pulling that image, creating a container and starting the container. All the three things are done. This run command is pulling the image because that image is not there, and it is creating a container and starting the container also, which means the process which is supposed to start in the container. Now how to see the containers? How many containers are there in this server? Docker ps. Now do I have this container also running now? Up from 19 seconds ago. So as I already told, Guys, you can see more details by executing this command, docker inspect. If you want to inspect the container, you can use this container name or container ID. If you want to see more details about that container, details about that container, you can use this docker inspect command. This container name you can use, or container ID also you can use. But again, who is assigning IDs for images or containers for any Docker resource? Who is assigning the IDs? Docker daemon. Now you can use this name, container name, if you want to see more details about your container. Now it is giving more details about that container. What is the idea of that container, when it is created, right? What is the status of that container? Status running, whether running is true or false. Running is true, which means container is running. From which image it is created, all those details, like IP address. This is my container IP. Using this container IP, I can access within this server. Using container IP. I think nothing is running on the root context. I don't know what is the context of this Node.js application. I think there is something called HTML, right? I don't remember. Or Mithun Technologies, something is there. Mithun Technologies. Let me see in the code itself. So this is my Node.js code. Yeah, this is one context. This is one of the path, Mithun Technologies. Other one is HTML. Other one is JSON data. Like this, you have some context, application context. So let me use that one. HTML. So HTML, I'm getting that response, welcome. Let's say this JSON data. Do you see, am I able to access that application which is running as a container using that container IP? But is this container IP is routable from outside of this Docker host, from different system? That can be from your laptop or from this system, other system, from other server in the same network also, same VPC also, you have another server. From that server also, will you be able to access using that container IP? Let's say this is one of the server, other server in same VPC, same network. But here, will I able to access using that container IP? There is no router, right? You can't access from other systems. To access from other systems or outside of the Docker, for that purpose, what we have done while creating a container, did I done the port mapping, that port forwarding? Yes. Now, can I use, instead of using this container IP, can I use that server IP, that host IP? In simple words, can I use that host IP and that host port? Host IP is nothing but your server IP. And host IP and host port, can I use if I have done the mapping? Yes. Now, I mapped with which port for this application, for this Node.js application? What port I mapped? 3000 with the 9981. So can I use something like this? 3000, this no host IP and host port, like this. And again, on the root context, we are not having anything. And one more concept here, AWS concept. Do I need to open this firewall, this 3000 port? AWS security group, that is nothing to do with the Docker. You need to open the firewall in this AWS security group, that inbound rules. Which port? Do I need to open the container port or host port? Do I need to open the container port or host port? Host port. So 3000. Now with this, Now this one, now where is that? This one, I am able to access. But why I am getting this cannot get? Because 404, nothing is running on the root context. So something like this is running. Am I getting a response from that Node.js application? Mithun Technologies, this is another context. Am I getting the response from that one? There is one more, just a dummy REST API, just a dummy REST application, REST API. Am I getting that response, JSON response, RESTful API? So this way, am I able to run any application, whether it's a Node.js, whether it's a Python, whether it's Angular, React, Java, Ruby, any programmatic language? Can I run this application as a container by creating a package, by creating a Docker package with the required softwares, libraries, configurations, and code? Now, same application you guys want to run, maybe in a different server. Will you guys able to create a container out of that image if you have access to that registry? If you have access to that registry, will you able to pull the image from registry and create a container in whatever server you want to create? Now, this is manual. This is manual process. If required, can I write a pipeline for the same? Can I write a pipeline for the same also if required for this application or any other application? You can write a pipeline for the same application or any other application. You can write a Jenkins file for this type of application. Now, instead of doing like this, can I do in a different way? Because you are running in the same server, right? You are running in the same server. Now I will clone this code here. In this, can I build the image first like this? Docker build -t Docker hands-on. That is my registry. Can I do like this? Node.js app, something like this. So you are already cloned that code. Do you have a Docker file along with your source code in that Jenkins workspace in the current directory? Docker file and source code, yes. Once this is done, will you guys able to push that image to the registry in another stage or same stage? You can execute some command like this, sh docker push. In another stage, here can I execute some command like this, docker push command, which will docker image will be pushed to the registry, whatever registry you tagged like this. Then, but before pushing, do I need to authenticate? Do I need to authenticate before pushing? So can I do something like this? Can I do something like this? Docker login, no human interaction, -u, Docker hands-on, -p, my password. But if you don't want to reveal your password in AWS, in Jenkins pipelines, what Jenkins concept you can use here? What Jenkins concept you can use here if you don't want to reveal your password in the Jenkins pipelines? Here, secret keys. In Jenkins, do you have a concept of secret keys? Bhaskar sir might have already explained. So can I create a secret key for this password? Suppose this is my password. Can I go to the Jenkins, manage Jenkins, and create a secret text for this password? And can I refer that as a variable here? Like I think you already know all these things with credentials block. With the credentials block, I no need to explain all these things. With credentials block, within this credentials block, I am referring one variable like Docker Hub password, ID, Docker Hub password, something like this. Just to give an example, the name of the variable which you want to store, in which variable you want to store. This is not exact syntax. I'm just giving name, something like this you have given. So can I use that here? like this. Interpolation in the Jenkins, double quotes, not single quotes, interpolation. Can I refer like this? For authenticating with my Docker registry, can I get my secret from credentials with credentials block? I hope you already know this case. Did you guys know this already? Bhaskar sir might have already explained what is the secret text, all those things. Now this way, I can do this. I can push. Once image is pushed, using SSH agent plugin or any other plugin, using SSH agent plugin, can I SSH to that the actual server and run that Docker run command using SSH block? The Docker run command can be run remotely in that server which you want to deploy. Now, if you have a pipeline like this, if you have a pipeline like this, you created a webhook or you created a POL SCM, that doesn't matter here. Whenever developer modified any code in that Node.js application, does that pipeline will take that code, create a Docker package, push the Docker package and deploy the Docker image? Can I do CI/CD also for creating, managing containers? So if you know the concepts, if you know Docker, if you know Jenkins, writing the pipelines, creating automation scripts, will it be complex? If you understand the concept, no. But if you by heart like this, Bhaskar sir has written stage 1 exactly with a single quote, comma, you by heart, you will never become a DevOps engineer. This is one example. In real time, are you going to get a different use case, different application you want to do differently using Jenkins, differently using Docker? You will not able to survive. That's why from day one, I start the any class, I keep say, understand the concept, understand basics, understand the concept. Then you can do whatever you want to do as per the given requirement. So everything is a requirement. There is nothing called real time. Sir, people are, whoever is, joining the classes, they are asking, sir, do you teach real time? As I already told, there is nothing called real time. Everything is a requirement. For that requirement, do you need to do something using whatever tools? It has to be used, whatever tools you are going to use. With the tools, you need to do the automation. Because real time, don't trust anyone. People saying we will teach, we will show real time projects. No one will show the real projects. If they show real projects in the training centers, what will happen? You know already the impact. The next day, the company will fire that guy. First of all, we cannot access that source code outside of Office networks. Outside of Office networks, we cannot access that actual source code because they are restricted, right? So if I try to connect to VPN from my Office laptop, if I give the trainings from my Office laptop, they can track what is happening from that laptop. So next day, they will give a kind of a notice. Not only this one, guys, don't copy single line of source code from actual projects to public GitHub repositories. Don't copy single line of code also, single shell script. That can be a single shell script, that can be a YML file, that can be a Java file. Don't copy any file from Office source code repository to the public repositories like GitHub. I'll tell you the reason. Every quarter or every month, every company will scan the public repositories. Every company will scan the public repositories. They will scan with some keywords, some search, some text, keywords they will search. They will identify in how many repositories they are able to match that keyword. If they identified some repositories are there with that matching keywords with their source code, they will come to know who is owning that repository. If it is, if that guy is again within their organization, they will first ask, why did you commit, or why did you push your Jenkins file or Docker file? That can be Java file, that can be shell script or any YML also. They'll ask, why did you commit it? Don't say So I want to improve my productivity. From office, I can access. From my home, I cannot access. So I thought of committing that source code to public repository so that I can go to home and work on that code. Don't say like that. They will not at all accept. So they will, if it is not more severe, they will give some kind of a warning and they will leave that. But if you copied complete code, critical code, there is no excuses, guys. They will fire immediately. That happened in my project also. One of the new guy joined 3 years back. One of the new employee joined to the project, but he has not done intentionally. So he was not having access to the systems. So he thought of copying that code to the public GitHub. He created a GitHub repository in the public and he committed that code. Immediately they identified with that guy excuses, they were not satisfied. The security team, that audit team, not satisfied with that excuses whatever has given by that guy. So he lost the job. I am just giving, might be Bhaskar sir also might have already explained, because these things you might also do, because you are not able to understand your code, your requirement, you are not able to understand. What you will do, maybe let's commit this code, or let send this code to the mail. Let me show to my friend. My friend is very good in DevOps. My friend is very good in development. Let me show this code to my friend. Let my friend will help. You might have that kind of intentions. Forget about helping the friend. You will lose the job also. So don't do that type of things. So why I am explaining this one? Because everything is a requirement here, right? I am doing on this project. This is having very less code. But what is the only difference between this sample application and actual application in your terminology, real-time project, real-time application? What will be the only difference? The source code. The source code. The number of lines, the code which we have. Here I have very less source code. But if it is actual project, do we have a lot of JavaScript? If it is Node.js, do we have a lot of script files, lot of images for that application, lot of CSS files, lot of JavaScript files for that application? Yes. But is there any way, is the concepts are completely different with this application and actual application you take? No. Concepts are same. You need a servers, you need a network, you need a storage when it comes to infrastructure. And if you want to deploy this as a containers, do you need to create an image? Do you need to push those images and deploy those as a containers? Yes. So concept is same. So that's why don't by heart anything, understand the concept. Based on the requirement, you will write. If you have some additional requirements in your pipeline, maybe you want to do some kind of a sonar cube scanning. Can I have the additional stages in my pipeline based on your application requirement, your pipeline requirements? If you know what is pipeline, what is stage, how to write pipeline, how to write stages, if you know, you can write. So concept is important, not the implementation. Focus on that way. So the more you practice, will you able to understand how it works? The more you practice, you will understand the actual real time. That's why we are saying focus on the classes as well as practice. Okay. Hope I'm not, boring this type of talking these type of things outside of the topic. Now, let's continue with whatever we wanted to continue now. Now, before we proceed further, let's understand image related commands. First, we will get familiar with commands. First, we will get familiar with commands, then we will get familiar with actual concepts. Now, image related commands, container related commands, we will focus. Now image related commands. As I already told, what is the command which I can use to build my image? We already used that command. Docker build -t this image tag. Here, what is this? Your build context. This is the command. Now, if I want to build image, this is how I can build. Now, this image tag, in the image tag or image itself, it should be like this. It will have three things. What is that? What should be part of that image tag? First one is registry. The second one is repository. Then tag. Tag. Now, as of now, I am doing like this. This image tag I am giving like this: Docker hands-on slash some application. Let's say this application. For this application, maven-web- application, like this I have given. In the build context, as I already told, I can give the directory path from which directory you want to build. Whatever files you are trying to copy to the image, with the help of Docker file, you are trying to copy some files to the image. Does that file should be part of your build context? Yes. If that file is not part of your build context and you are copying, will you get a message saying that no such file or directory? You are trying to copy some file from while creating an image to the image, and that file is not part of your build context. Will you get a message saying that no such file or directory? Yesterday also I have shown that. It's going to throw error. Now here I can give build context folder, or can I give dot also, like this? Dot represents current directory, that is your build context. So whatever files which is part of that current folder, does Docker client will send it to the Docker daemon, so that whatever files it is supposed to copy to the image which is defined in Docker file, it will copy. Rest of the files will not copied. So this is how I can create an image. But this is public Docker Hub. Now, instead of public Docker Hub, if I want to use ECR, if I want to use GCR, if I want to use ACR, or if I want to use Nexus or JFrog, can I use this as a Docker registries instead of Docker Hub as a registry? Can I tag with these registries also if required and push? Just to give an example, if it is a Nexus, can I do something like this? My Nexus, suppose Nexus already mapped with some domain, nexus.tcs.com. If you are working for TCS, just to give an example, your Nexus is already mapped with some domain, it's configured with some domain. Can I use like this? Your Nexus domain. If your Nexus is already mapped with the domain, you can use like this. If your Nexus is not mapped with the domain, can I still use IP address? If it is not mapped with the domain, can I still use IP address? That Nexus server IP address like this, and port, whatever, on whatever port you created a Docker registry. Guys, Nexus will run on 8081. Nexus will run on 8081. But when you are creating a Docker registry, it is not going to run on this one. You need to give separate registry, separate port, something like this. This is your Docker registry port. Even though Nexus is running on 8081, this is different. When you are creating a registry in Docker, Nexus registry, Nexus repository in Docker, Docker repository in Nexus. When you create a Docker hosted repository, if you go to Nexus, if you go to create repository, you see an option called Docker hosted, Docker proxy also. If you try to create a Docker hosted repository, first it will ask on which port you want to create that Docker hosted repository. So do I need to mention that port? Whatever port I used while creating a Docker hosted repository, I can use that one here like this. If this is already mapped with some kind of a domain in front of that Nexus, can I use that domain instead of using this IP and port? Yes, I can build like this. If it is ECR, what is the meaning of ECR? What is the meaning of ECR? Elastic Container Registry. It's a managed Docker registry. What is the meaning of managed Docker registry? Who is going to manage that registry? Do you need to set up? Do you need to set up that one? No. Then who is going to set up? People are saying Docker. Is Docker is going to manage ECR, maintain and manage ECR? No. It is AWS, guys. AWS. It's a AWS service. Now, in AWS, do you have a service called ECR? The way we have a EC2, there is a service called ECR. What is the meaning of this ECR? Elastic Container Registry. Fully managed Docker container registry. What is the meaning of fully managed? AWS will manage. Do I need to set up the server to set up this registry? Do I need to create and install any software to set up this registry? Do I need to worry about storage? Do I need to worry about storage, availability of that registry, high availability of that registry, storage for that registry? No. Who will take care? AWS. So this ECR, Elastic Container Registry, is one service. As of now, I have some repositories here. I already created. Let me delete this and I will show you. I already created some repositories here in this ECR. Let me delete this. Now, if you go like this, first time you don't see any repositories. Now, can I create a repository in this ECR to store my images? I can go to this, click on create repository. Now again, in the ECR also, there are two things: private repository, public repository. If I select this public repository, again, does anyone can pull the images from this public repositories? Yes. But if I create private repositories, do I need to authenticate with this ECR to pull also? Yes. Now, like this. What is this one? What is this one here? When I'm creating repository, it is showing something like this. What is this one? Is it a repository or is it a registry? This one, whatever I have highlighted. That is your registry, ECR registry, DNS name. That is ECR registry, DNS name. So I created a repository like this, just to give an example. I created a repository. Within this repository, what type of repository it is this? What type of repository it is this? Private repository. Now, tag immutability. This is like in your Nexus. It is like in your Nexus, you have that one, right? Allow read apply, disable read apply, like that. So this is tag immutability. Suppose this tag immutability is enabled, which means with same tag, can I override that package with same tag if this is enabled? Suppose I built this image like this with the :1 as a tag, So I tagged to this registry like this. I tag to that registry like this, that repository. I built like this. I have pushed that image. With same tag, can I push one more time? If that is enabled, this tag immutability is enabled. Enable tag immutability to prevent image tags are being overridden. If it is enabled, can I override the same image one more time? Can I push the same image one more time? If this is enabled, no. By default, this is disabled. So if it is disabled, then can I push this image with same tag multiple times? Will it override existing image with same tag? Yes. So that is what tag immutability. Like this you have in the Nexus also. In the Nexus, while creating repository, do you have an option allow read apply, disable read apply? Some option was there. Similarly here, tag immutability. So I can create a repository like this. I can create a repository like this. Now, if required, can I tag my image like this? If I want to push to the ECR instead of tagging like this, can I tag my image like this while building the image? While building the image, now can I tag like this? Like this? Instead of doing like this, can I tag like this? My registry, my repository, and tag. So when I execute Docker push, does Docker knows where to push that image? Because the image itself has registry detail, a repository detail also. So does Docker daemon knows to which registry it has to push? So whether you are using ECR, whether you are using GCR, whether you are using ACR or Nexus or JFrog or Docker itself, Docker Enterprise software will give one software. The Docker Enterprise Edition will give one more software called DTR. What is DTR? Docker Trusted Registry. This is also one registry, but it is enterprise software. So can I install DTR in my own infrastructure, which is offered by Docker to manage Docker images? Yes. Then can I push to the DTR also? This is one software, enterprise software given by Docker to manage Docker images. So whether you are using DTR, whether you are using ECR, GCR, Nexus, JFrog, does the concept of Docker will change? No. So what is this GCR, guys? What is this GCR? GCR stands for what? Google Container Registry. Again, it's a Docker registry. Which cloud? In which cloud? Google Cloud Platform. Google Cloud Platform, GCP. We call it as a GCP, Google Cloud Platform. ACR. ACR. What is the meaning of ACR? Azure Container Registry. In which cloud we have this service? In Azure Cloud. So if people are using Azure Cloud, instead of they create a Nexus server, they install required Nexus software and create a repositories, can they directly go and leverage ACR in the Azure Cloud to store these Docker images? Yes. Similarly, if people are using GCP Cloud, can they use GCR to store Docker images, that container images? Yes. So while building itself, you can tag like this. So does Docker knows where to push if you tag like this? Yes. But suppose you are doing mistake. This repository doesn't exist in the ACR. This repository doesn't exist in the ACR. So it may throw error if it is not able to create. If it is able to create, it will create and push. But you are giving something wrong here. Maybe your IP address, if you are using IP address, that IP address is not correct, or maybe this port is not opened, the firewall is blocking, there is no network. Again, you are using some wrong domain names. something like this. Again, when you are pushing, if there is any network issue, you don't have a network with that registry where your registry is running, from the server where you are pushing, you don't have a network. Again, will it able to push? Just to make it simple, from Jenkins, you are pushing artifacts to the Nexus. Let's consider Jenkins server doesn't have network with the Nexus server. Will it able to push? Will it able to contact Nexus and push? No, right? Similarly here, from the server you are pushing the image doesn't have network with the registry. Then will it able to push? No, right? If something is blocking, the firewall is blocking, let's say, the firewall is blocking the request. Again, will it work? No. So that is different concept, network concept. That is network concept, because this registry is also one server. This registry is also one server. From one server, you are pushing the image to another server. This registry is also server in the background, correct? So does that server from where you are pushing should have a network with the registry, right? Yes, that is different concept. So networking also comes here. Now we can push like this. I will explain this. I will push this image to this one later. I will explain how to push image to the ECR also later, not now. I just created a repository, but I have not yet pushed. I will do this later. But are you guys clear? Whether you are using ECR, whether you are using GCR, ACR, or Nexus, does the concept of Docker image creation will be different? No, it remains same. Only you are going to tag like this. If it is at your own Docker Hub or public registry, like this. If it is ECR, like this. If it is GCR, you are going to use that GCR endpoint. If it is Nexus, like this, you are going to do. This is how you will create an image, Docker build. Now, how to see the images which is available locally? Locally, whatever images is already created, how can I see those images? How can I list my images which is available locally? Docker images, or can I use Docker image ls also? Is both are same? Yes. Docker images or Docker image ls, both are same. I can use like this. This will list the images available locally, but will I able to list the images available in the registry? What images are available in the registry? No. How can I see? Do I need to go to that registry and see how many repositories are there in that? One second, guys. Sorry. I think, am I audible again? Some issue with network. So what I was saying, will I able to see the images which is available in the remote repositories using this Docker images command or Docker image ls command? No. If I want to see what images are there in my remote repositories, do I need to go to that respective tool? Maybe Nexus. If you are using, you need to log into the Nexus and see. If it is ECR, you can go to the ECR and verify how many repositories, what tags are there, like that. This will list only local images. Now, If I want to see more details about image, not only image, any Docker resource like image or container or maybe volumes or networks in the Docker, if I want to see more details about any Docker resource, Docker info will give information about server. That Docker info will give information about server. I am saying I want to see more details about image. I want to see more details about container, or I want to see more details about volume. What command we can use? Docker inspect. Docker inspect your image ID or name if you want to inspect. You can do like this also. Docker image inspect or directly inspect. Docker image inspect, that image ID or name, or directly Docker inspect. You can use this way or this way also. So will it give more details? Let me SSH to some server. I want to see how many images are there. These many images are there in this server. If I want to see more details, can I use this Docker inspect, that image name like this, your repository details and the tag details also like this. You can use image inspect also, Docker image inspect, or you can directly use inspect also like this. It will give more details about that image. Now if I want to use ID also, can I use ID also? Instead of tag, can I use this ID also like this? Docker images or Docker image ls, both are same. Similarly, Docker inspect or that image inspect, both are same. I can see more details like this. Now, if I want to push images, we already discussed how to push image. We already discussed. I no need to explain again how to push image. What command? I want to use Docker push your image ID, not image ID, guys. You need to, you can use image ID also. You can use the tag like this. But if it is a public repository also, do I need to authenticate while pushing? Do I need to authenticate while pushing? Even though it's a public repository, when I execute like this, Docker push, do I need to authenticate? Yes. How to authenticate? Authenticate with the Docker registries. Docker registries. Guys, don't get confused between Docker registry and Docker Hub. Is Docker registry, Docker Hub both are same? Is Docker registry and Docker Hub both are same? Is both are same? No. So Docker registry can be Docker Hub. Not both are same. Docker registry can be Docker Hub. Does ECR can be Docker registry? Does Nexus can be Docker registry? Does the JFrog can be Docker registry? Yes. But don't always consider Docker Hub is equals to Docker registry. Does Docker Hub is Docker registry? Yes. But it is not both are equals. That can be any registry. That can be Docker registry, that can be Docker Hub, that can be ECR, that can be Nexus, like that. Now, if I want to authenticate with the Docker registry, what I can do? What command I can use? Docker login -u. What is -u stands for? You can use full name also. -username also you can use, or just -u. -u username, your username. -p, your password. Then your registry endpoint, registry endpoint in the sense URL. registry endpoint or URL, both are same, registry URL. Now in case of Docker Hub, how we do? In case of Docker Hub, how we do? Just this is sufficient, because if I don't mention this one, what is the default registry the Docker daemon will contact for authentication? Docker Hub. Now I no need to provide endpoint, like this is my username, my password. Just to give an example, this is my password, let's consider. So don't try with this password. I am not shared this password. This is just dummy password. Okay. So now, like this, I can do. In case of Docker Hub, let's say, in case of ECR, I tagged with ECR. Now I want to authenticate with ECR. Now, how can I do that? Can I use something like this? Just to give an example, -u username. I will explain this, guys. What is the username? What is the password? If you are using ECR, I will explain later. Just to give an example, I am taking like this. If I give like this, will it be authenticated with ECR? If I just give like this? No. Now, do I need to give my ECR details there? Do I need to give everything like this? Do I need to give everything like this? This registry as well as a repository and tag like this? No. Only registry endpoint. Only registry endpoint, not everything. So can I call this as a registry? My Docker Hub registry, this ECR registry endpoint. Now, does Docker will contact this one? Does the Docker will contact with this server, this ECR, with this username and password? If it is a valid user and password, does this ECR will say, okay, you are valid user, authentication is successful? So I can do like this in case of ECR. But in case of JFrog or Nexus, suppose this is how I have there. Nexus, I have a domain. So can I do like this? My Nexus username and password with that domain, whatever domain is mapped with Nexus, like admin 123, just to give an example. This is my Nexus domain. Can I do like this? Yes. If you are using IP, can I use like this? IP and port, you are not using domain. Can I do like this? IP and port like this also for authenticating? Yes. Again, can I have something like this also, guys? Docker login, this one first, later -u -p. Can I have like this also if required? Yes. But is this correct? Is this correct? Is this correct? This type of small mistakes also you will do. So you can have like this. Maybe here you can have, or maybe at the end also you can have, or here also you can have. Here also you can have, maybe. But is it correct like this? Or is it correct like this? No. So most of the cases you will see at the end. Most of the cases you will see at the end like this. So is everyone clear how we can authenticate if you are using ECR, GCR, Nexus? Again, does the concept of Docker is going to be different again? No. Concept remain same. In real time, in actual projects, which repositories, I mean to say, which registries you will use? Are you going to push your images to Docker Hub registries? Are you going to push your images to Docker Hub registries? No. Which one we will use? That depends on, again, your infrastructure. Suppose you are not at all hosting your applications in the cloud. You are not at all hosting your applications in the cloud. You are using your own data center infrastructure. You have your own data center. That client has their own data center. The server, storage, everything is in their data center. In that case, your Docker servers or your Kubernetes servers also part of same data center. In that case, where do you host your images? Are you going to use in-house solutions like Nexus or JFrog? Are you going to configure and install Nexus or JFrog in some of the server in your data center and store your images or artifacts in that Nexus server or JFrog server? Yes, you are going to do that way. Otherwise, if you are already in cloud, you are using cloud-based infrastructure. You are already moved to the cloud. Your applications are hosted in the cloud-based infrastructure like Google, Azure, AWS. You are already have your application servers, database servers, your load balancers, everything you are ready to host in the cloud-based infrastructure. In that case, can I have my Docker servers or Kubernetes servers if I am using Kubernetes in cloud? Yes. In that case, instead of you worry about setting up the registries, can I directly go for managed registry like ECR in the AWS? So what is the advantage if I go with ECR over creating a EC2 instance and configuring Nexus and JFrog on my own? What is the advantage if I go with ECR instead of creating a separate EC2 instance on my own and configuring Nexus and JFrog? What is the advantage if I go for ECR? It's completely maintained by AWS. So do I need to worry about high availability of that that registry? If something goes wrong with Nexus server, you are directly using Nexus. Let's say you created a EC2 instance and you configured Nexus. If something goes wrong with that Nexus server, will you be able to push and pull images from that Nexus? No. So if your server is running out of storage, will you be able to store any artifacts into that server, Nexus server? Your server is running out of storage? No. So you need to manage availability for that server. You need to manage storage for that server if you go directly with EC2 and installing Nexus or JFrog. Instead of that, if I go for a managed services, do I need to create any server on my own? Do I need to install any software on my own? Do I need to worry about availability, storage for that registries like ECR? No. Can I just go ahead and create and push the images? Only creating repositories and pushing the images. So who will manage for us in the background? AWS. And also at the same time, do we have authentication in place? Which means whoever has access to that AWS ECR, they only can push and pull. Does anyone can push and pull without having access to that ECR? No. So can I secure my images to the people, only the guys who is working for that project or for that company using private repositories? Yes. Similarly, Nexus and JFrog also, again, it's a private repository. Does anyone can pull and push images to the Nexus repositories, private repositories? No. Using network concept, can you limit only if you are in Office network, the servers in Office network are in same network, then only you can push and pull. And also the guys who are onboarded to the Nexus, they can only authenticate and push and pull. So can I achieve security? Who can only push and pull images to the private repositories? Yes. So in real time, are you going to use private repositories like Nexus, JFrog, ECR, GCR, or DTR like that? Yes. Only private repository like this. Okay. Is everyone clear? Whatever has been discussed so far. Now we have few more image related comments. I'll continue from next class. So next class is on Monday. So tomorrow holiday for you. So try to practice whatever is pending so far. I want you to come back with full of energy and enthusiasm for next week onwards. We are going to start some advanced concept in the next week. So tomorrow holiday, Sunday also holiday. I'm not planning to take class tomorrow, but next week onwards, don't expect Saturday holidays. Okay. But before you log off for the day, I am trying to give one assignment. I want to give one assignment. You guys already know Docker. You guys already know Jenkins. I want you to build and deploy that images containers using Jenkins. Will you guys give a try? Will you guys give a try? I want you to write a pipeline, maybe scripted pipeline or declarative pipeline. Using that, I want you to automate creation of Docker image, pushing the Docker image, and creating a container in the another server, deployment server using pipeline. I want you to do that as a assignment. In fact, that is not an assignment. There is a video also. I want you to do without referring the video. But if you want to refer the video, there is a video available in our YouTube channel. If you want you to refer the video, you can refer. But I hope you can do without referring the video also. But you can refer anytime. This video. Where is that video? This video. In detail, I have explained in this video. I ask, you can refer. If you anywhere stuck here, refer this video. So take one server, take Ubuntu server, because do I need to install Docker in Jenkins also? Because I am building the image, I am pushing the image. Does Docker is required in your Jenkins server also? That can be a controller Jenkins. If you don't want to do that, can you take a slave machine? In slave, can you install Docker and can you run that pipeline in the slave where you have a Docker agents? That is up to you. Whether you want to run that pipeline in the main Jenkins server or whether you want to run that pipeline in the agent, that Jenkins agent. You can add a Jenkins agent in that agent or main server. Do you need to have a Jenkins, the Docker software also? Because you are executing Docker build, Docker push in the Jenkins. You can do that. So take a Ubuntu machine and install Jenkins, install Docker, maybe in the same machine. But if you have a time, you can run that pipeline in a agent by adding one more agent. But is it anything to do with the Docker? That agent concept? It's nothing to do with the Docker. That is Jenkins concept. You already know what is agent, right? Why do you need agent? Suppose I want to run this pipeline in agent. Do I need to have respective tools in that agents like Docker commands I am executing? In that case, do I need to have a Docker in that agent software, that agent machine? Yes. You are running Maven commands. Do you need to have a Maven software in that agent, agent server in which you are running? Yes. So that you already know. But I don't want to make things complicated for you. If you have a time, you can do that. Otherwise, take only one server, install Jenkins, install Docker in same server. That is your Jenkins server. Create a one more server, install only Docker. That is your deployment server. Using these two servers, I want you to do the pipeline, CI/CD. You can refer this video. Okay. If you stuck anywhere. I want everyone to do this assignment. There is no exception. If you do the assignments only, you will have a confidence. This is what we do, guys, in real time. You have a requirement, you are going to do this one only. There is nothing called real time. You have this type of requirements only. In the interview also, they will ask if you are using Docker and how you are automating the pipelines. In that requirement, if the interviewer are asked if you have already done the assignment, will you guys able to explain? So I have a Jenkins server in my pipeline. I have done this step, using this plugin I done this one, using this plugin I have contacted a registry, I pushed the images. Will you able to explain that flow, CI/CD flow, if they ask you in the interview? If you get same type of requirement, if you are already done the assignments in the actual project, you have a same type of requirement, will you able to implement that requirement without any support, without any help also, you can do that. So that's why practice is very, very important. Not only just attending the sessions. Already half of the people are not at all attending. If they ask any question in the interview, what is Docker, why container, what is image, they cannot answer anything. They'll say, sir, I am not able to get the job. Why do you get the job if you don't attend all the sessions, if you don't know all these concepts? In the interviewers, if they're asking these questions, they'll say, sir, I attended 10 interviews, but I am not able to crack. Will you be able to crack if you don't attend, if you don't practice? Half of the people already left that one. They will again come back, sir, I attended 10 interviews, not able to crack the interview. They are asking real-time questions, sir. They'll come to me, sir, they're asking real-time questions. I will ask, so what do you mean by real-time? What question they asked? They will explain, they will say, sir, they have given one use case. They ask me to explain, how do you do? I asked, what is the use case? They'll say same thing, whatever I already told. But people are not doing the assignments. People are not attending the classes. They're directly appearing the interviews, thinking that they can crack. That is wrong assumption. You need to do lot of practice. You need to do lot of assignments. You need to attend each and every session. As I already told, each session is related to other. If you do all these things, you can become an expert. I can challenge. You can compete with even 5 years actual DevOps engineer also. The guy who has actual 5 years DevOps experience, you can compete with that guy if you do all these things in this course. Whatever we have told in the day one. So that's why I'm saying assignments are important. So make sure you are doing the assignments. We are providing references. We are guiding. If you are not able to utilize, I'm not sure how can I help more than this to anyone. If you ask me, I am trying to deliver more than whatever we have committed. We are trying to deliver more than 100%, whatever we have committed. But at the same time, I need you guys also to do the same thing. Okay, for people who is not attending, I can't do anything. For guys who are attending, try to do the assignments also, and do lot of practice also. Definitely, you can be in a good position. Thank you, guys. And before I wrap up the class, advanced wish you happy Ugadi for each one of you. Advanced happy Ugadi for you. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Thank you, guys.